Dude says.
All right, dude. Here we are with the podcast yet to be named, and this hopefully will be episode 1 of the unnamed podcast.
It is episode 1.
This is episode 1 of the currently unnamed podcast. Hopefully, by the time you are tuning into this podcast, we have a brilliant name that shoots us through the ratings on podcast.org. I'm here with my best friend, Julian Gavilanis, and my other best friend, Stephen J. Libby. I'm Alan Stone. Thanks for tuning in. Wow, what are we doing here?
Well, I kind of wanted to talk to both of you two and myself about kind of how we got here.
Yeah.
Kind of like take us through the timeline of when your tour ended, while you were on tour, and what happened to get to this point to be here out in Spokane, kind of stuck for the last 6 months. So I'd like to go back in time a little bit, if you guys wouldn't mind, to talk to you about the experience that kind of led us to this moment. So that we could kind of break it down for everybody that might be listening, and they could kind of get on board and get up to speed with where we're currently at.
Sure, we'll catch everybody up. For the sake of continuity, for anybody listening who has absolutely no context of any of us, I'm a touring musician by trade. I usually am on the road about between 8 and 9 months a year. Stephen J. Libby is my guitar tech, stage manager, assistant. He's like a Swiss Army knife of occupations. And we've been touring together for, Steve? If you include your Tommy and the High Pilots days, we've been touring together for almost 7 years?
Almost 8.
Almost 8 years.
Yeah.
So Steve has been incredibly blessed to
Incredibly blessed to what? Work for you, Doug?
to have the distinct pleasure of waking up either above me or below me on a tour bus. And in March, like most industries, or not most, but a good amount of
The entertainment business.
definitely all of the entertainment business,
Yeah.
and for sure all of the live entertainment business, we canceled the tour that we were right in the middle of. I released a record in November. That record's called Building Balance, and this was the headline tour to promote it in the States. We were pretty much booked out all the way through to the end of this year, and it's all been canceled.
So what was the vibe prior to it getting canceled? Were you guys Building Balance was kind of a big deal for you? It was a big record, and you kind of had some momentum going with it. Were you guys like feeling good? Was the energy good? What was the tour like prior to this happening? Because it ended, and was it a different kind of tour than it used to be, or was there anything that was different about it?
I think every tour that we have done, we get better at. We have an incredible squad of human beings that travel together. And it seems like every time, for me personally, now I could be completely off base with this, and you'd have to ask each individual who's on the trip. Steve, your opinion would be needed after this. But I think every time we go out on the road, we get better at doing the road. So that to me would mean like the tour was going great. Steve, what do you reckon? How did you feel the tour was in that stage of the game when we had to cancel?
I think we were crushing it. We had a great pre-production rehearsal. We added a couple of members to the team, to the squad, that brought a lot of fresh energy, which is super nice. We had some younger guys out with us that keeps us road vets in line, like reinvigorates us to do better, and because you're mentoring at the same time as you're teaching. And I think we were crushing it when we were out there, man. We were flying in, we were flying out. The shows were super positive, super fun, great energy. Everyone was vibing it, and I thoroughly was enjoying myself as usual out there.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always a good time, and that's right. Man, it's been so long ago. We're all the way in August, and we canceled that tour on. Well, we didn't cancel. We postponed it.
Right.
And what's funny, actually, Steve, if I think about it now, we postponed the rest of the tour. I was thinking, dude, this thing's gonna shake out by, May.
We all kind of were, yeah.
Yeah.
So we postponed the dates to August, and literally I'm pretty sure we postponed the first date to be August 9th, which is today,
Today's the 10th.
which is yesterday. And
This is pre-recorded. It can be any day you want.
exactly, yeah. So that is pretty interesting to think about, because it is nowhere near shaking out. I'm not sure if.
No.
I definitely think things will eventually go back to some form of normalcy, but I got no concept of when that's going to happen. I thought I did, but man, the more I feel like I know, the less I understand about this whole situation. But to bring it back, it was really nice to think back on those times. And Andre Zapata was on bass that tour. We had done a tour together, but we'd never done a headline tour together. And he's just a beast of a musician and just a joy to be around. Super kind, super centered, not a party hound, responsible. And then Griffin Wright was playing the drums, and he was
Love that guy.
He's
The best.
squad, dude. He's super squad. Same thing, straightforward, centered, founded.
Keeping you in shape.
Oh my God, the guy is a triathlete. I worked out with him. I forget which town we were in. And you know where it was? It was in New Haven. One time he's like, "You want to come down to the gym, dude, and get some." And we had this circuit thing going where, you do like 5 squats, and then you do a round, and you do that whole circuit like 4 times. You're no, I didn't puke, but chin-ups?
Yeah.
Dude, I did not realize how hard chin-ups were.
Yeah, chin-ups are super tough.
Do you do them front-facing hands or back-facing hands?
It's a different muscle that you're stretching when you do it, but I think you're meant to do them with your hands facing outward rather than inward.
Okay.
And so it's obviously easier with your hands inward.
I did one.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
good.
did them like this.
Just half and half in it.
And bless Griffin's heart, he grabbed my legs and helped me go up so that I could get him. You guys, I could not do
How
one.
many? Not one.
And I couldn't do a single one by myself.
What is that? Did that inspire you to do more?
No.
Yeah, you didn't care.
No, I haven't done a chin-up since.
Well, let's get a chin-up bar at your house. You just put them on the door and you just rock it out, dude. They're really nice. I haven't
Yeah.
had one for a while. I like those.
It was definitely a full body workout.
You get those deltoids up and busting, boy.
I'm trying to rip some shirts Hulk Hogan style at the end of my shows.
So it sounds like it was going well. Your guys' tour was kind of full steam
Make
ahead.
sure that mic's
You
in
always
your
tell
face.
me it was not. It was in.
You sound super echoey. Yep, go for it.
It sounds like you guys were kind of full steam ahead, having a good time. And I went to your New York show, which was probably one of the handful of last ones that you did.
Did you? Did you pay for a ticket?
Absolutely not. I've never paid for an Alan Stone ticket in my life.
We know.
Nor will I ever. Not
Never?
because I don't want to support you, but I think I support you in other ways. So I'm just not gonna ever. I mean, if you like made me, I probably would just not go.
You're not that into it.
No, I am into it. I just would. I don't. Maybe I would. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
We would never let you pay for a ticket. To the
I
show.
don't like. Yeah, it would just be strange. A strange situation.
If it was like a some sort of tribute show at the White House or something,
Right.
and I only had one guest list, and my mom was like, "I really want to go."
And I had
And
I don't think I'd have the opportunity to go at that point then.
But if you came to me
But
and
if
you
I
were like,
did-
"Dude, I really like the president's daughter. I'm really been jonesing on her. I think I got a shot."
I like how that's where you think
maybe-
about
The motivation,
Yeah.
maybe
Chelsea Clinton's gonna be there.
super babe actually.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She'd wreck you.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe K-Logs, old Kenny Logs is on the bill, and you're like, I want one more chance at that piggyback ride.
Yeah.
The restraining order is still out there, though, so I don't think he'll be able to.
Totally. I would probably pay for something like that, you know? It would be an investment for my future, I feel like, at that point. But no, I will not pay for a ticket to go see you, and I didn't pay for one in New York either. However, I think that's the show that you guys all got COVID from. If you did, right?
I think it was Philly, honestly.
You think it was Philly, Steve? Was Philly before New York?
After Philly was when people started showing symptoms on the bus, and it kind of trickled down from there.
Because Philly was after Toronto, was it not?
Before.
It was before Toronto?
Before,
yeah. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure we did Philly, and then we went up.
Okay. I forget. I remember waking up in Toronto in my hotel room, drenched. Now, I didn't get a test. I don't have a positive anything. I didn't get an antibodies test. I didn't get a COVID test, but
you got sick.
I got really sick.
Yeah.
Not really sick. I got a flu. And which I get a flu on every tour. Right. Literally every tour I do, I get some sort of sickness
while you're on tour.
Always while I'm on tour,
and you play through it.
Yeah, gotta.
Yeah, it plays through it. Yeah. Most of us get sick after the tour because your body's kind of telling you to like keep going and your energy's up, and then you get home and you're just done for.
That's what's usually that used to happen to me when my adrenaline would take me through the tour, and then after we'd wrap the tour, I'd get home or go on vacation with my family, and just like clockwork would get sick for the whole time and just be miserable. Yeah. And then after that week was over, I would get right back on tour. So
right.
But yeah, got sick. Probably 75% of our bus was sick at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a petri dish. It's a giant container of circulating hot breath and sickness.
Right, and we all make out every night.
Of course, but this was during the shows, or this was after you?
No, it was during the shows. We had a week straight of shows that, I mean, to get ready for the shows, I would do a Wim Hof, then a vocal warm-up, then another Wim Hof. Then I would take a 5-hour energy. Then I would jump in a hot shower and then turn it all the way to, this is the middle of winter, turn it all the way to cold. And then I felt pretty good after that. But, it was tough. There was a few nights where I was like, I'm going to black out on this stage.
I can't imagine what that must be like to be super sick and we went on a tour once, and I never actually got sick, but I just felt so worn down night after night after night, thinking in the afternoon of a show night, there's no way I'm going to go be able to do this. Now, I don't do it regularly like you guys do, so I didn't have that experience under my belt. But I was really scared a lot of times because I just genuinely didn't think that I was going to be able to go out and give this type of energy. How do you what you said, like your process for like showering, Wim Hofing and breathing and doing those things, but like you got to psychologically do something for yourself to just like, it's adrenaline, I assume.
Well, I think I always attempt to try and get back, because there's definitely moments in a tour where you are completely, and now Steve's been a touring musician where he's been on stage, and so he understands this. And when you were doing it, Steve, you guys were banging it out. You were pounding the pavement, and you were sleeping in like a cargo van.
Yeah, we were putting about 300 days on the road in just an Econoline 15-passenger in a trailer, just sleeping at Walmart and stuff, man, for a few years.
Yeah, savage.
Oh yeah,
for a few years.
Yeah, we got our van up to I think it died out about 450,000 miles.
Those Econo-lines, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. And so you guys knew that coronavirus was a thing. It was like something that was being talked about in the media. So we knew that it was something. You just didn't think anything of it because things were still open.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, it's been a tough situation for me with any form of media in the last 5 years of my life.
Sure.
I don't pay attention to it because it's just all opinion polls and a bunch of people shouting at each other, and I rarely do I see any legitimate journalism happening on the major networks, which you would pay to MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. It's all opinion pieces, which is kind of annoying to me. I would prefer to just get the facts. So I wasn't even tuned into the news. I mean, I don't really, might read the headlines on my news app on my phone, but I'm not, it's not like I'm, really dedicated to some sort of news cycle. Obviously we knew that some sort of disease had come out of Wuhan, and they were starting to see some cases of it and some positive tests come out of Seattle.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. And then we all kind of were feeling gnarly, and we had what's called a rock doc. Essentially doctors who are on call that will just come to the venue if you need, to me it happens literally every winter. I get some sort of problem with the flu, or my adenoids swell up, or I've got bronchitis or something. I just need to sing every night because I've canceled one show in my life.
Right.
And that was, we couldn't get there in time.
I remember.
Our flight didn't work. So yeah, to me it's, you don't cancel shows. I mean, I always kind of rest on the thought of people like changing their entire life to be at this thing.
Yeah.
Right? You get a babysitter, maybe you paid for the dinner, you paid for the parking, you bought the ticket, you showed up early. It's like an act of God for me to cancel a show. And so a rock doc will come to the show to help you just get better. And this guy, we were in Cleveland, and he came to the show. We were all just feeling barf.
Yeah.
And he jammed one of those fun things up my nose. And you got to take the test to the lab, and then a couple days later you get the results back. So a couple days later, both my influenza A and influenza B tests came back negative. He didn't test for COVID because we didn't have COVID tests in America at that point.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, well, so I don't have the flu. I definitely got something. And then 2 days later, we canceled the tour. Flew back home the next day.
Well, some of us did.
Well, shit. Yeah.
Talk about it, Steve. Talk about what your experience was with that. What did you have to do? Were you stuck out there?
We did what basically the crew buses back. So from wherever we were, I can't recall, but Memphis. We were in Memphis, and we deadheaded all the way back to Orange County to unload the gear, and then myself and the GOAT Carter Adams drove a U-Haul with all the backline equipment from Orange County to Spokane. And the whole time, I mean, again, this COVID thing was definitely out there, and we all had the symptoms, but they're very common symptoms across the flu scale, right? The whole trip home, I just listened to NPR, the whole drive. And it was a bunch of doctors talking about expectations and trying to control this, and basically just going, we have no idea, honestly, but this is what we're working on. So that was the news that I was getting, which I trusted a lot more than, again, CNN or Fox or whatever, app, BuzzFeed, whatever. And we all just kind of went through it differently, and some of us were hit really, really hard. And definitely a shout out to the guys in the camp, because, I mean, the crew was like Tim Burke, our production manager, man, he was in the thick of it, and he's just like, I'm toughing it out, and he loaded the whole trailer himself basically and just sweated the thing out of his body because he's a hero and champion amongst the, because the show must go on. Like Al said, we don't cancel shows. We get in and we do the job.
But all of a sudden it just stops.
We couldn't. We couldn't, on like an ethical board and management, and everyone had the discussion, and it was just like, you guys, we can't do this.
But
this,
it was
this is a pandemic.
But it wasn't even like a conscious choice by you guys. You had to stop.
Well,
You would have. had to
Eventually,
stop.
we would have been forced to stop.
Yeah, we probably could have done like 2 more shows before I think we were legally required to stop. But you have to understand that the day before, the NBA had canceled their season. The Olympics had postponed. I think like Coachella had.
It was South by, yeah.
South by had canceled. Like all these big events were paying heed to this situation. And one, I mean, you don't want to endanger people that come to your show to like patronize your music.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, it's not a good look, right? If people are you I think at that point we just weighed the options and thought, you know, it feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, it was irresponsible to stay out there in a mass gatherings of 2,000 strangers to touch and share drinks and do the thing. You know, it's not right.
Now, be honest. Given that you guys are lifer musicians on the road doing this thing, was it almost a relief, or was it awful, just overall?
Ooh, you go first, Steve.
In my opinion, it was awful because I was confused. I think we were doing a good job. Again, we were looking forward to a whole year of work and bringing the show around the world, and that excitement turned into confusion for me personally, going like, what's happening around the world? And then I just started to slowly accept the fact that it's more important to flatten the curve, and so this thing we do for a living and for fun and for joy and for our souls can come back safely sooner than later. And you know, the world's changed forever, in my opinion, on that as far as outlook goes, and hopefully we can get back to it soon. But I think it's more important to be responsible for everybody else than it is to be selfishly wanting to do what I want to be doing right now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think there was a part of me because I just felt so crappy. Because it was
Physically?
Yeah, physically I was just, I mean, we were all just worn down.
Yeah, we were
there
a
was
mess,
a
man.
there was a level of relief that happened because I think we were just all exhausted.
Yeah.
And not because the tour was exhausting, but literally because we were all in the throngs of what I personally believe was COVID-19.
Right.
Trevor got a test, and I'm pretty sure he has the antibodies.
He has the antibody, yeah.
And Sam Henshaw, the
Direct
direct
support.
support of our squad, he was quarantined in Memphis as the tour stopped.
He lives in London, so he had to quarantine before he flew over.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
to
and
talk to him about
he
it.
tested positive. A few of the guys from Andy Suzuki and the Method tested positive. So without a legitimate paper saying we tested positive, it felt
Right,
like
probably
we most likely did.
So we've established that you guys canceled the whole tour, basically made the conscious decision, but we're going to be forced into having to make that decision one way or
Yeah,
another.
dude, COVID-19 was the ultimate cancel culture.
It was.
Nobody was saved.
All culture was canceled.
All culture was canceled by COVID-19.
Yeah.
What a little savvy B word.
So, what do you do? How do you adjust right away? Like, what's the first feeling that you get having to like do just 180 pivot from where you were doing? You just go home. You just basically go home. Like the next move is, all right, I guess I'm just going home.
I don't know. I mean, I think right now we're trying to find that pivot still, like 6 months later. I think, I've had some ideas cooking up for a long time about how I can pivot a couple degrees so that, obviously, that I'm not sure the audience is aware, but I just had a baby boy in March of 2019, and I got married the September previous to that. Spending 10 months a year on the road doesn't sound as rad at this stage of my life as it did when I was 24. It'd be great if it was like 7 months or 6 months, right? So in order to do that, I think you have to attempt to try and, slingshot some sort of idea into the future and go, well, that might be able to keep me home, right? And I think this is part of it. The Live at the Lodge thing that we are doing is part of it.
Just from like a more immediate understanding of where you were when it all stopped. Like you hadn't pivoted at all. You just had to kind of accept that you were coming home, and were like, okay, now I'm in this new situation for myself that I wasn't planning on. I was planning on being out on the road. I was planning on, making the income that I needed to provide for my family that you now have.
Yeah.
And now you're not. Now there's nothing
Right.
for you. And so you just basically are on a flight home thinking.
Well, I think immediately, and I'm not sure, but I would imagine that Steve would echo this, is immediately it was like, this is a hoax. Like
Yeah.
for the first 2 months, I was like, tomorrow somebody's going to get on television that we trust, which obviously there is no leader currently that anybody trusts. And they're going to tell us, hey, we made a mistake. We got a little excited. Everything's cool. Go do your thing. I was kind of convinced up until at least April that was going to be the situation. And I think just kind of in the last month or so, I've been like, oh, this is probably the new normal.
Yeah.
We're going to be
More of a
wearing face masks for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
So I would imagine my immediate reaction and I didn't think that I was going to have to 180. I thought, well, it'll be fine. We'll shake out. We'll postpone these shows. We'll be back at it in August. And obviously that's not the case. Was that your feeling, Steve, when we canceled it, or were you just kind of like, I'm so sick, I'm trying to get on?
I was definitely sick and ready to be home. I definitely think I was very aware and woke to the situation of that this is a very serious thing. Much sooner than April, it was definitely like kind of right away because of how drastic the dominoes were falling everywhere. I mean, around the world, it was just domino, 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 domino. And just statistics alone, I mean, just because it didn't affect me directly, it's pretty low over here in Spokane. The initial, I mean, everyone in Seattle was getting sick, man, going to the hospitals. They were all full, overwhelmed, First responders, thank you again. And it was definitely just a really surreal realization of people getting hurt, and that's always very frustrating to your spirit, and going like, oh my God, how can I help? And the best way to help was just to not affect anybody else negatively, I think, for me personally.
Were you guys mad? I mean, it's obviously like a global thing. Like it's not, you can't prevent it, but I imagine I would be mad. I'd be like, I don't know.
Well, you tell me, man, because your life upended too. You're an actor in New York,
but my life's so much more inconsistent than yours is. Where I'm an actor, but I'm doing jobs 3 or 4 times a year, and they take up 1 month out of the 12. Now I'm auditioning all the time. I'm doing a bunch of different things, but like my lifestyle wasn't upended. I just kind of stayed home more than I had been. I wasn't going outside and going to, the next booking. I wasn't
the gym.
I wasn't going to the gym. I was doing the gym inside.
To that, Julian, can I ask you so for me out here, Alan went home to his beautiful family, and I think that's nice, and I'd like to talk about that too.
Quit again?
Yeah. Just hit record.
Yeah.
I'd like to get to Alan's take on that. But for you, Julian, I know for me, my psyche, I live out in the woods, so isolation, I don't think had such a psychological effect on me as it might have someone who lives in New York. Like the energy around you is obviously crazy and so alive. The city never sleeps kind of thing, right? Where I'm just me and my wife just hanging out. Like that's just what it was.
Yeah.
So for you, that massive energy bubble you live in to just be totally popped, like what was that like on your psyche?
Yeah, I was already in kind of in the direction of moving towards a more independent lifestyle for myself as it was, trying to be a little bit more like I was finding the introvert in myself. So by the time this all happened, I used to not be able to not be around people for any period of time throughout the course of the day or night. And so I had been working towards making that more of a thing for myself as this last couple years had happened for me. And so, it was really weird because people were calling me and asking me, is everything okay in New York? It seems crazy out there. Everything's wild and everything's burning down. And I was, just in my house immediately. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody knew what was going on. It was just like, who knows? I don't. Yeah. I'm just stuck in my house with my best friend Steph, and we're watching movies and hanging out. We're trying to get outside. We bought some bikes and tried to get outside. More than anything, I was just kind of sad that I don't know if I'm going to be able to see you guys or my family, or because I'm so far away from them being in New York and having them be in Washington State, that when am I going to be able to see these guys again? Will I? And again, thinking like this is a hoax and trying to like juggle whether it is or whether it isn't, and not really knowing what's actually happening, but kind of accepting that. And I'm kind of a inherent optimist, I guess, and so we'll always try to find the good in situations and not allow myself to get super upset. But I didn't, my lifestyle wasn't I didn't have something that was going like you guys had. So it's such a different question for me. I honestly, and I felt a lot of guilt saying this, but I felt kind of good. I was like, this is really nice, because now I don't have to go out and audition every day. Now I don't have to be a slave to this thing that I've created in my life, which is being an actor. And I felt kind of liberated by that in a terrible way, because I recognized that people were dying and this virus was a real thing. Mm-hmm. But I turned it to creativity and started just like doing all this. Yeah,
I was going to say, what did you put your energy and your focus?
I just started. I just got this need to kind of create things, and so I started this kind of like creative experiment for myself, where I put one piece of content out every day during quarantine, and I called it the Quarantine Chronicles. And it was basically to give myself permission to fail and to look stupid and to not feel precious about art, because for so long I've felt that way about what I've been trying to do. I'm not where you guys are at. I don't have an established career as an actor, so I get a lot of my identity is based in like what I have or haven't done yet. So I'm just like, and the things that I get to do aren't necessarily super inspiring to me, because they're like these TV gigs, or they're these commercial gigs that you're doing for a paycheck and for a resume builder. And I just really wanted to kind of take hold of my own creative life and do something that I felt compelled by. And so I was making these things every single day, whether it was playing guitar and singing a song, or doing a monologue, or going out into the city and meditating in the middle of Times Square and kind of just documenting all these things. I did it every day for like 35 days, and it was so great.
I enjoyed it. It brought me joy.
Yeah. I think it brought some people joy, I was doing like dance parties in the streets and including other friends and stuff. And it was really nice, because I think I just that's why I asked you guys if you guys were angry, because maybe subconsciously I was, and I was just trying to like push out some type of positive energy of myself that was in there, because I knew that the world was feeling really upset. Yeah. And it was interesting mostly because I was putting this content out on my social medias, and I was noticing that I was losing followers because some people couldn't deal with it. I think because none of it was like, look at me, I'm gonna be creative and fun and have the best time of my life. Maybe it was. I don't know. But a lot of people were. I think some people like to be miserable. I think some people like to be sad. And
it's definitely easier.
And yeah, and I recognized that, like, whoa, this is actually like offending people, that I'm trying to live a really positive lifestyle right now, in the midst of all of this. But it was the only way. It was the only thing I knew what to do.
There was a lot of that out there too, though, with people, just it was like working out and doing all these different things. It was, trying to put out positivity, but at some point it was kind of just annoying too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know, what to do besides wake up in the morning and say, okay, what am I going to do? Take my camera. It was a
Right.
good way to
Right.
learn how to use my camera. I've been kind of inspired by Alan and all of this camera stuff that we're using here and everything that he's been doing. So I was like, oh, if this guy can do it, so can I. So it was good. But yeah, I just wonder, it's really easy. Like I said earlier, and you just said it. I said, some people like to be miserable. Some people like to be in that place, in that headspace. And Alan said it's definitely easier. And I just wonder if you guys felt that way with yourselves after coming home from having to cancel something like your tour and be here for.
Yeah, I kind of jump back and forth, I think, and obviously can't speak for Steve, but I go from total terror and fear and anger and confusion to total elation and complete joy. I think for me personally, with my thing and like the music universe that I've been so incredibly fortunate to put together and to formulate around me, sometimes that ball and that snowball gets rolling down the hill and you can't stop it. I haven't stopped touring since I was 23 years old. Like pretty much right after we met, I jumped in my Cutlass Buick 1987. Shout out to GMC. Bring our jobs back. No, just kidding. And I haven't stopped. And specifically since that the Brown album came out, my self-titled album came out, and the live version of Unaware from my mom's living room, I haven't stopped touring and pounding the pavement. And I've been incredibly fortunate to do that, but man, it's like you get exhausted. You get exhausted from the gravity which pulls you back in, because you've got you just always want to move forward and keep pushing and keep going, and at times you can feel like, well, I got all these other people that I support now, not only my family, but also the people who work in my crew and the guys who play in my band and my managers and my agents, and that ball can get rolling down, and you can't. It's not like you're going to raise your hand and be like, "You guys, I need a year off."
Yeah.
Like, you're just not going to say that, because the rest of the world is going to keep going. The rest of the world is going to continue. All the other artists that, like, for some reason you're afraid of losing your fan base to, which is ridiculous. It doesn't happen, but I think at least me personally, I've kind of had that natural tendency to go, well, if I'm not out selling tickets and singing for people and making songs and making music videos and creating content, and then somebody else is going to do it, and it's going to pull away this glorious attention that I've gotten from a fan base. And when COVID hit, pop, obviously, and I go back and forth because, God, I miss singing in front of people. I miss playing live shows. I miss hunking and dunking around with my good buddies in a tour bus and making fart noises with my armpits, and that's a blast. That's like a really fun thing to do. And so I get pissed for sure, but then I also get back. I'm just like, oh man, everybody had to stop. We're all now at the same place.
Right. I think that's such a weird thing to feel a sense of relief from. Everybody's feeling this, so it's just like,
no, not that.
I know I feel that too, though. Yeah, go ahead.
Not that I don't feel relief because everybody's had to stop. I feel relief because I've been able to stop, and I'm not handicapped by the fear that if I don't keep pounding the pavement and playing shows and making money then my entire music career is going to go away. Now, just overnight, my entire music career went away, and I didn't have anything to do about it. So it's it's a weird sense of relief, and it's also given me the space to be a father, which is super cool.
sure.
I've watched I wasn't going to see my son's first steps.
Yeah.
That's how gnarly the schedule is, and obviously, like, I'm in control of it, but at the end of the day, like, there's pressure there. There's definitely pressure there for you to continue to make money and for you to continue to support not only your music and your art and your craft, but also the people who have helped you get there, your crew, your band, your management agents, etc. And I've been, this whole scenario has given me the opportunity to be home. It's hilarious. Me and my wife, like, we've, you get in a few tussles, like married people and people who live together do. And after they settle, it's like, oh man, we have to remind ourselves that this is the most time we've ever spent together in succession. Like, since we met in 2014, and it's been like potentially the longest I've been home in one like consecutive time frame has been 3 weeks, I think.
Wow.
And so, learning to be a husband in a different capacity, not learning to be a husband through FaceTime, but learning to be a husband who's like coexisting and cohabiting.
Yeah.
That's like a different thing that this has allowed me the opportunity to find. It's allowed me the opportunity to become a father and learn that trade, because it's not just like being a father is not just making sure you call home every,
Of course, right.
4 hours. Like, being a proper father is not just providing and having food on the table. Like, being a proper father is waking your ass up at 6 and changing shitty naps. And so I think I'm finding a lot of joy and elation out of that, as well as like getting the opportunity to hang out with two of my best buds and try and like cultivate and create things that people can enjoy and that people can be stoked about and can hopefully bring some positive feelings to potentially people who are stuck at home, who aren't working, who are working, just like bringing joy through this incredible instrument called the internet.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like, and I wonder if you guys feel the same way, in that, and like the shackles have kind of been broken off of our ankles as far as like this. I certainly feel it in my life out in New York. Although I love to do what I do out there, I feel like I'm a slave to it. And I've gotten this momentum with it, and I'm going and I'm doing it, and I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to take breaks. I don't know how to go on vacation. I don't know how to come home for my mom's birthday when she's having them. Like, I don't see my family. I don't do much other than the thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's not until you actually stop, not until you have the absence of something else to be able to recognize like what it is, because you have perspective on it. And through this break, through this absence of whatever career I had and the obvious career that you guys had, it's really, it feels like a huge weight has come off for me. And I don't like to say that because I know like the weight is stacked on a lot of people. But I think just in being able to break away from the expectations that I've put on myself to do what I do.
I mean, it's totally possible for two realities to exist at the same time. I mean, just because, and my heart goes out to the people who have been dramatically affected by this. I mean, we've all kind of lost our jobs in reality.
Totally, for sure.
So I think we're probably we're not near the top of the list of human beings who have suffered from this situation. I'm not going to ever play the martyr, but we've definitely been affected. But I think two realities can exist at the same time. I think something can be totally awful and totally relieving all in the same capacity. Specifically a pandemic. I mean, because it's all individuals interacting in their own life. And obviously your heart can go out to the families affected far more severely than you, while also being like, man, I've rekindled my love for drawing. Like, this whole situation is, man, I learned how to make kombucha, Steve. And I make a whiz kiz of a kombucha. I throw a little vodka in there, you know what I'm saying, with a little umbrella.
Boy.
Sippy down, dude. I hang upside down from my little
inversion
chin
table.
up machine.
Yeah, it's great. I feel like the three of us have really made the most out of this situation and have turned ourselves around in the midst of something that has really kind of stopped us from actually being able to do what we have been doing for so long. And it's kind of beautiful in that, it's great that you have the resources available for yourself to be able to come up and like create this Live at the Lodge space and to bring musicians on, but to even just do it by yourself and to keep it going and to keep the thing alive. It's like, it almost seems as if it's a necessity for you, and it's not. Is it a necessity, or is it I know it's both. It's a desire for you. You want to be doing it, but like, is it like this need because like it's coming out of you as like an
Like a
artist
need to
that, like,
create, or a need to have a job and
no, like a need to create.
Like
rent.
I'd say
Well, either or, sure.
Well, I don't know. You go, Steve. You're about to say.
Well, I'd say for me, you were talking about pivoting towards like creation and isolation, and then and then the anger aspect. And I don't think I was ever angry. I don't think that'd be the right word for it, but I was definitely feeling incredibly anxious for purpose. And that was really frustrating and in my head. And I would have a lot of self-dialogue and go like, how do I identify myself with purpose now, not just as a good partner and a good person and all that in my daily life, but what was I going to focus on? So that pivot towards cultivating this Live at the Lodge, it was, I think, for Al and I, a way to be together, be creative, find new strengths, find weaknesses, and all that stuff. And I think that focus really brought it home for me, that just to make the best of the situation that I'm currently in. And luckily I have you two good buddies now, and I'm glad that it kind of coalesced to having you out here for a little bit, Julian, and helping us with this. And again, it's all a grand experiment of ourselves, and just having fun with it. And I think that's brought a lot of joy for me now that we're episode like 19 of the show. Yeah. And I think it's been a great way to focus and not distract myself in an unhealthy way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good call, man. I think it's pretty safe to assume that we're all pretty purpose-driven human beings, and so to be able to pivot in a way that allows us to kind of tap into whatever that is, to repurpose ourselves for something like this, is so important and necessary.
And hopefully fun. Hopefully fun. I mean,
super fun.
We've
sure.
Super fun.
We've gotten in deep. We've talked about the nitty gritty this go around, and there's going to be all different kinds of things to explore on this podcast.
100%, for sure. We're going to, my hope is that we can just continue to have conversations about it. We can shoot the shit whenever we want to about what we want to do and how we want to do it, and the silly stories that we've cultivated throughout the course of our lives. Mm-hmm. And we can laugh and bring guests on and talk stupid with them and have the best conversations. But I don't know, I felt really compelled to kind of catch anybody who's listening to this up to speed with your life and what's going on, because there's been a lot of people that have been like, well, last time I saw Alan and Steve was in Memphis, and I don't know what's going on.
What happened to them?
What happened to those farts?
Did he get did Alan get rid of that terrible goatee? Anybody still listening at this point, thank you so much for checking this out.
Yeah.
We currently are, like we said in this entire show, in this podcast, we've been working on a good pivot, on a John Stockton 3-point stance, pivy piv. If you'd like to help us, and you want to support Live at the Lodge and this podcast and everything we're attempting to try and do creatively, you can check out our Patreon page. It's kind of like a monthly subscription where you get extra episodes of this podcast. You get behind the scenes of Live at the Lodge. You get set lists. You get signed merch. You get T-shirts. You get coffee mugs. Man, the possibilities are endless. So check that out. It's in the description. Thank you guys for tuning in. Jules, thanks for being here. Steve, thanks for running the sticks.
Yeah, bud.
This was episode 1, boys.
We have done it.
Oh my God. Next up, Mariah Carey.
Oh man, I was thinking of Ferris Bueller.
That would be a get.
I'll I'll
All
make
right.
some calls.
Yes, Steve will make some calls. Tune in next week. We love you. Have a good one. Stay safe, stay blessed, and stay tuned.
Oh, good one. Bye.
How good's this?